Organ trafficking, it's a gruesome trade dealing in human organs as if they were commodities, but what exactly is it? Simply put, it's the illegal trade of human organs for transplantation. This illicit business preys on the vulnerable, exploiting their desperation for profit. It's a global problem thriving in the shadows. People often think of organ trafficking as something that happens in far-off lands. But the truth is, it's closer to home than you might think. It's happening right now in every corner of the world. This trade is a form of modern-day slavery, robbing individuals of their health and their dignity. The victims, often living in poverty, are lured in with promises of a better life, but the reality is far bleaker. They are left with lifelong health problems, emotional scars, and little to no compensation for their sacrifice. We'll explore how it operates, who's involved, and the devastating impact it has on individuals and societies. More importantly, we'll discuss what can be done to stop it. Organ trafficking isn't a haphazard affair. It's a well-oiled machine run by sophisticated criminal networks. These networks span continents, connecting desperate donors with wealthy recipients. Each group plays a specific part, ensuring the smooth functioning of this illicit trade. At the heart of this network are the brokers. Think of them as the middlemen, the negotiators. They connect buyers and sellers, arranging travel, accommodation, and even falsifying documents. They are driven by profit, with little regard for the human cost. Then there are the medical professionals, doctors, surgeons, nurses. These individuals betray their oaths, participating in illegal transplants for financial gain. Wealthy individuals, unwilling to wait for legal transplants, turn to the black market. This is a global problem, requiring a global solution. We must disrupt these networks, expose the perpetrators, and hold them accountable for their crimes. Imagine this. You're struggling to make ends meet, barely able to put food on the table. Then a glimmer of hope appears. An opportunity to earn a significant sum of money, enough to change your life and the lives of your loved ones. This is the reality for many potential organ donors. They are not criminals. They are victims of circumstance, preyed upon by traffickers who exploit their desperation. Recruiters are masters of manipulation. They target the most vulnerable, the poor, the unemployed, refugees, migrants, often promising them a better life abroad. They use social media, local ads, even word of mouth, painting a rosy picture of what awaits. The reality, of course, is far from glamorous. Donors are often housed in cramped, unsanitary conditions, their movements restricted. Their passports are confiscated, trapping them in a foreign land. Many donors are promised a large sum of money only to receive a fraction of the amount, if anything at all. It's a cruel business, built on lies and exploitation, leaving a trail of broken promises and shattered lives in its wake. The true cost of organ trafficking is measured in human suffering. The victims, often driven by desperation, are left physically and emotionally scarred, their lives forever altered. The physical toll is often immediate and severe. Illegal surgeries, performed in clandestine clinics, often lack proper hygiene and post-operative care. Donors are left vulnerable to infections, complications, and long-term health problems. Many donors experience chronic pain, organ damage, and reduced life expectancy. They are left with debilitating conditions, unable to work or care for their families. The psychological trauma is equally devastating. Many donors suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and depression. The act of having a part of their body forcibly taken leaves deep emotional scars. They are haunted by feelings of shame, regret, and violation. The social stigma associated with organ trafficking often prevents them from seeking help or returning to their communities. We must stand in solidarity with the victims, amplifying their voices and demanding justice. Organ trafficking thrives on anonymity. The victims are often faceless, their stories untold, but behind the statistics there are real people with real lives, each with a unique story of exploitation and suffering. Take, for example, the story of Ahmed, a young man from a poverty-stricken village in Bangladesh. He was approached by a broker who promised him a well-paying job in India. Desperate to support his family, Ahmed jumped at the opportunity. Little did he know he was being trafficked for his kidney. Then there is Maria, a single mother from Ukraine who was struggling to make ends meet after fleeing the war. Lured by the promise of a better life for her children, she agreed to sell her kidney. She was told she would receive $10,000, enough to start anew. she received a mere $1,000, leaving her stranded and in despair. By sharing these stories, we hope to humanize the issue, putting a face to the faceless victims. Section 6. Origins of a crisis, poverty, conflict, and the rise of a black market. Organ trafficking didn't appear out of thin air. It's a symptom of deeper societal issues: poverty, inequality, and lack of access to healthcare. In many parts of the world, poverty is rampant, and people are desperate for any opportunity to escape their circumstances. This desperation makes them easy prey for traffickers. Conflict and displacement also fuel the organ trade. Refugees and migrants fleeing war and persecution are particularly vulnerable. They are often forced to live in precarious conditions, lacking legal protection and access to essential services, making them easy targets for exploitation. The global demand for organs also plays a significant role. The gap between the number of people needing transplants and the number of available organs is vast. As long as these underlying issues persist, the organ trade will continue to thrive. Section 7. The cogs in the machine, unmasking the players in organ trafficking. Organ trafficking is a complex operation involving a network of individuals who play different roles in perpetuating this illicit trade. While some individuals are driven by desperation, others are motivated by greed and a callous disregard for human life. At the bottom of the chain are the recruiters. These individuals operate within vulnerable communities, identifying potential donors and luring them with false promises of wealth and a better life. They are often former victims themselves, trapped in a cycle of exploitation. Then there are the transporters, responsible for moving victims across borders, often using forged documents and clandestine routes. They treat their human cargo as commodities, their only concern being profit. The medical professionals involved in organ trafficking are arguably the most culpable. Doctors, surgeons, nurses. These individuals betray their oaths, prioritizing profit over their patients' well-being. At the top of the pyramid are the brokers, the masterminds behind this illicit trade. Only by dismantling this network and holding all those involved accountable can we hope to eradicate this barbaric trade. Section 8. A call to action combating a global scourge. Organ trafficking is not an insurmountable problem. It's a global crisis that demands a global response. We must act now to protect the vulnerable, bring perpetrators to justice, and dismantle the networks that facilitate this trade. Strengthening legislation is paramount. Governments worldwide must enact and enforce stricter laws against organ trafficking, treating it as the serious crime it is. This includes prosecuting not only the traffickers, but also any individuals complicit in the trade, including corrupt officials and medical professionals. International cooperation is crucial. Organ trafficking networks operate across borders, requiring coordinated efforts between countries to share information, track down criminals, and dismantle their operations. Raising public awareness is essential. Many people are still unaware of the true extent of organ trafficking and its devastating impact. Supporting victims is paramount. Combating organ trafficking is not just a legal or ethical obligation, it's a moral imperative. Section 9. Hope on the horizon, building a future free from exploitation. The fight against organ trafficking can feel overwhelming, but it is not a lost cause. There is hope on the horizon. By working together, we can create a future where human organs are no longer seen as commodities, but as gifts of life to be treated with respect and dignity. Promoting ethical organ donation is key. By increasing the availability of legally sourced organs, we can reduce the demand for organs on the black market. This requires raising awareness about organ donation, simplifying the donation process, and addressing cultural and religious sensitivities. Empowering vulnerable communities is crucial. By addressing the root causes of organ trafficking, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of access to healthcare, we can reduce people's vulnerability to exploitation. Investing in research and technology can also play a role. Scientists are exploring innovative solutions to address the organ shortage, such as developing artificial organs and xenotransplantation. By working together, we can create a world where everyone is valued, respected, and protected from exploitation.